Hi there. So welcome to the Business Lecturer in Within Show. Very much excited for having you once again today, and we are looking today at the cost and profit statement, which means we are going into management accounting today. Now, if you don't know, every single day in the week, that is from Monday to Friday, 4 p.m., I go live on my YouTube channel like this to teach on various subjects, on various topics. As you must know, I design those the things that I'm going to be teaching based on the topics that we have on the various from various students. So if you are watching this and you want any topic, you want me to cover any topic in any subject, once it is in the professional qualification syllabus of ICAG or even the ACCA, you can put it in the chat box or you put it in the comment box, and I'll look at it, design a lesson about it, gather questions about it, and then I'll come live and come and teach it like this to help you so you can prepare well for your examination. Remember, if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, you have to click on the subscription button and then the notification bell, so that anytime I go live like this or I release new videos on my channel, you will be the first person to be notified. Remember to share the channel with your friends, your colleagues on WhatsApp, on your WhatsApp platforms, on your Facebook pages. You can tag me along, and I'm going to be reading all of that for you. The reason is that we want to reach as much people as possible, because there are a lot of people across the country who are also equally preparing for their professional qualification examination. So if we together share this channel, I'm going to be sharing the channel myself, but as you are watching and benefiting, you got to share the channel as well with your friends, your colleagues, so together we can help as much students as possible across the country. So Chachu, welcome. Yeah, Chachu, so you're welcome to the broadcast. Any questions you have, put it in the chat box. If you are watching the replay, put it in the comment box. I'm going to be answering all your questions for you. Today we are looking at cost and profit statement part 1, which means that tomorrow we continue with that. This is a very fundamental topic in management accounting. So if you know somebody writing management accounting or preparing for management accounting that has to be watching this right now, make sure that you share the video on WhatsApp with that person, or you share it on your Facebook Messenger or your Facebook pages, so together we can reach as much people as possible, so we'll be able to learn and prepare well for your examination. Now, one of the fundamental roles of the management accountant is to determine the cost of a product or a service. So in management accounting, we have what is called the costing methods, all right, and then the costing techniques. So we have the costing methods and then the costing techniques. Now we're not going to be going through these today. We'll just hit the hammer on the head of the nail straight up and go ahead. But simply costing methods, like the name suggests, costing methods are simply the methods used in the determination of the cost of a product or a service. So it is under the costing methods that we have things such as job costing, batch costing, process costing, contract costing, service costing, all right? All those things are under what is called the costing methods. Now, the costing systems are the techniques that, costing techniques are the techniques that provides management with information for decision making. So something like standard costing, absorption costing, marginal costing, these things are costing techniques. So we are not looking at the costing method, job costing, batch costing, process costing, service costing. We'll be looking at some of these things later on, but today we want to focus our attention straight up to look at the cost and profit statement for an organization from the management accountant's perspective. So how do we go about that in relation to that? Now, the first thing you must understand is the cost of a product. So when we say the cost of a product, what does the cost of a product represent? What is the cost of a product? Cost simply refers to the amount of expenditure on a particular on an activity, a product or a service. Okay, the cost of expenditure incurred in the production of a product or a service. That is a cost. So if I say it cost me $5 every day to go live on YouTube like this, that means that is a cost. But when we are dealing with how we can determine the cost of a product or a service, there is something very important for us to do, and that is determination of or classification of the cost into its various components. Now, I went through this earlier. I think that was last week when we were looking at the overview of the syllabus, and I gave you some tips under that. But I'm going to as well go through here a little bit, so that it will help us with the marginal costing, absorption costing, and activity-based costing that we are going to be looking at here today. So how do we classify cost? So cost can be classified into various categorizations. So the first one is classification of cost according to nature or by nature. Now, so what is classification of cost by nature? In a simple language, we say that classification of cost by nature is the classification of cost according to the elements of cost. Let me take that again. Classification of cost by nature is simply the classification of cost according to the elements of cost. So what are the elements of cost then? If we want to determine the cost of a product, the cost of a service, what are the elements of cost? So there are three elements of cost. We have material cost, labor cost, and then expenses. Someone said expenses cost. So, and then expenses. So let's take them one after the other. What is material cost? Material cost is simply the cost of ingredients, inputs used in the production of goods and what? Services. The cost of ingredients and inputs used in the production of goods and services. So whatever ingredients, whatever inputs that we are using in the production of goods and services is what is referred to as the cost of a product in relation to that. Then we come to the second element, and that is labor cost. Now, labor cost is simply the cost of human effort in the production of goods and services, okay? The cost of human effort in the production of goods and services. Then we come to expenses. Expenses are simply all other costs incurred apart from what? Material cost and labor cost. All other costs incurred apart from material cost and labor cost. Now, why are these important? These are important because these are what sets the tone for us to be able to prepare the cost sheet of a product or the profit statement for a product using either activity-based costing, marginal costing, and absorption costing. So when we say material cost, labor cost, and expenses, these can further be divided into direct cost and then what? Indirect cost. So what does that mean then? It means we can have direct material cost, indirect material cost, we will have direct labor cost, indirect labor cost, direct expenses, and then indirect what? Expenses. So all of these components can further be divided into these various categorizations. So if we are determining the cost of a product, the cost of a service, we need to be able to identify what are the direct costs and what are the indirect costs. Now, so the big question we ask ourselves then is, what is the difference between direct cost and then indirect cost? And now, I gave you a couple of differences as well last week when I was talking about the overview, but since we are starting the discussion, let me give them to you as well here. So, differences between direct cost and indirect cost. Now, number one, direct cost can be traced or allocated to a particular cost center or cost unit, all right? direct costs can be traced or allocated to a particular cost center or cost unit, whilst indirect costs cannot be traced or allocated to a particular cost center or cost unit. So that is the first difference between direct costs and indirect costs, or direct costs and indirect costs. So traceability. While direct costs can be traced, indirect costs cannot be traced. Second, summation of all direct costs gives prime cost. Summation of all direct costs gives prime cost, whilst summation of indirect costs gives overheads. What does that mean then? It means when we add direct material, direct labor, and direct expenses, that gives us the prime cost. Then if we add direct and indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expenses, that gives us what? Overheads. So that is the second difference between the direct material and indirect material, or direct cost and indirect cost. Another difference we can talk about between direct cost and indirect cost is that direct costs are controllable, whilst indirect costs are uncontrollable. Direct costs are controllable, whilst indirect costs are uncontrollable. In other words, when it comes to direct costs, because they can be traced, because they can be allocated to a particular cost center or cost unit, we can determine how much we want to spend on that. But since indirect costs, they cannot be traced to a particular cost center or cost unit, they are what? Uncontrollable. Then the fourth distinction that we will have between direct cost and indirect cost is that direct cost takes a greater percentage of the total cost of a product or a service. Direct cost takes a greater percentage of the total cost of a product or a service, whilst indirect cost takes a lesser percentage of a particular product or a service. So these are the differences you must understand between what? Direct cost, indirect cost. The number one is traceability. Number two is what? Their summation. Number three is controllability. And then number four is the percentage of the total cost that these two have. So if these are the differences between direct cost and indirect cost, what then is direct material? What is indirect material? What is direct labor? What is indirect labor? What is direct expenses? And what is indirect expenses? So let's go through them a bit and let's find some numbers in relation to these things. Number one, direct material. So what is direct material? Direct material is simply, like the name suggests, direct material. It is simply the cost of raw material or the cost of ingredients or inputs in the production of a good or a service. Okay? So let me use an example. Let's say we are making this duster. Alright? We're making this duster. Now, what do we need to make this duster? In making of this duster, we need a wood. I think this is a carpet. We need a carpet. Then we need a glue because a carpet will be used to put on the wood. So we need a glue for that. Then we also need sandpaper for the smoothing of the wood to make the finished product. So if we talk about direct material, the direct material of this particular duster is going to be what? The wood and then the carpet that is used on it. That is direct material. What then is indirect material cost? Indirect material costs are simply the other inputs that we cannot trace or allocate. Or are you getting it? So the glue we are using on this duster will become what? An indirect material. Will become an indirect material. Then let's come to labor cost. Direct labor is simply the cost of human effort that can be traced or allocated. So when it comes to this duster, the person who made this duster, the carpenter, will be a direct what? Labor cost. So the money we pay to that person will be a direct labor cost. However, The apprentice of the carpenter, or anybody who helps the carpenter in doing of the carpenter's work or running errands for the carpenter, the money we will pay to that person will become what? An indirect labor cost. Why? Because the carpenter's work can be traced to the duster, but the one who makes the running, the apprentice who does a lot of things, his work cannot directly be traced to what? The final duster. Then expenses are all other costs we are incurring. So if we are making this duster, what are other costs we will be incurring? We may be incurring electricity costs. Alright? We may be incurring, when we go to buy the woods, we will pay for delivery of the goods. Okay? Then any other tools or equipment we need to hire, all those things will be under what? Expenses. Now, what is the difference between direct expenses and indirect expenses? Like we said, for example, if after finishing this duster, we need to employ an expert to come and check the quality of the duster, then the money we are paying to that expert to check the quality of this duster is called direct expenses. I hope you're getting the illustration well. The money we will pay to that expert to check the quality of the duster becomes a direct expenses. The same thing also applies. Assuming after the duster is completed, we need a specialized machine to shape it or to do finishing of it, and that machine is specialized. Then when we hire that machine or any cost we incur in that machine on getting the products to be fit will be also what? A direct expenses. So hire of special machine or hire of an expert to be able to check the quality of the product that we are producing will be what? A direct expenses. Then the indirect expenses will be the electricity I mentioned, will be an indirect what? Expenses. Then the issue about depreciation could be what? An indirect expenses. So that is what you need to understand about the first thing, classification of cost by what? Nature. But why did I take you there? Why did I take you there? Because we are looking at cost and profit statements. So why did I take you there? I took you there because understanding of this foundation is critical for us to set over. So it is from this understanding that we are able to prepare the cost sheets. So when we are preparing the cost sheet or the cost statement, how do we go about its preparation? How do we go about it? So let me slash my dollar sign here in relation to that. So the first thing we bring is the direct material cost. Alright? Then we bring the direct labor cost. Then if there is any direct expenses in the question, we bring it up. And so the summation of all direct costs, what did we say? Summation of all direct costs gives us what? Prime cost. Summation of all direct costs gives us prime cost. So after we get the prime cost, we say we add what? Factory overheads. Now when it comes to the factory overheads, we could have variable factory overheads and then what?
This is the Millionaire Booklet, How to Get Super Rich. My name's Grant Cardone, I'm the author.
And then fixed factory overheads. So variable factory overheads. So let me do two cash columns here. And then the fixed factory overheads. Now, one thing that is going to happen is that whilst you are preparing the cost sheet, the overheads would have to be absorbed. When you are preparing the cost sheet, the overheads would have to be what? Absorbed. So that is why I'm putting into brackets W for the variable and the fixed if we are going to be absorbing the overheads. I'm going to be explaining that in a moment. So that is factory cost. So when we add the factory overhead to the prime cost, that gives us factory cost or production cost. So production or factory cost. Now, once we have
this is the Millionaire Booklet, How to Get Super Rich. My name's Grant Cardone.
The next thing we bring on board is add non-production what? Overheads. Add non-production overheads. Now, the non-production overheads also, it's going to be entailing or including two things. We may have variable non-production overheads, okay, and then a fixed non-production overheads. So variable non-production overheads and then fixed non-production overheads. So we add that to the factory cost, and then we will get what is called the total cost of production. And let me continue with that here. So we get a total cost of production. And that's going to be here. Once you get your total cost of production, what do? You add your margin or markup. And we'll be looking at this one also later on because it's something that worries students a lot. So we add that up, and then we now get our selling or the quoted price. So this is how we prepare the cost sheet. Very, very important. This is how we prepare the cost sheet. So you bring all your direct costs, adding up to prime cost. You add factory overheads to get your production cost. But like I mentioned, the factory overheads, you may have to absorb the factory overheads. And I'm going to be going into that in a moment. Now, one thing you must understand also is this. Now, some of you would want to have access to the complete course, the complete lecture videos, so you can study as fast as you can and then solve a lot of questions to prepare for your examination. So irrespective of where you are located, we have the courses available online. So I have the full course available online. Financial accounting, business law, introduction to man accounting in level 1, then all papers in level 2, all papers in level 3. So with the exception of business management and information system, we have the courses available online. So you can click the link below in the description box, nhyirapremiumuniversity.com/courses, and then you can go there and enroll in the full course, okay? Enroll in the full course. I think as of the time I'm making this video, a paper in level 2 is 475 and a paper in level 3 is 525. So you can enroll in the complete course, get access to the complete course, you get access to my ebooks, you get access to the question kits, then also most importantly, you're going to be getting access to a one-on-one session with me via Skype once a week where I answer any questions that you are having for the things that you are studying or you've studied for the week. So for those of you who want to say, hey Nhyira, how can I get a complete video? Because I've seen a lot of people commenting, yeah Nhyira, you said this video you will release the rest, but well, how can I get access to the complete video? You can just visit my website, nhyirapremiumuniversity.com/courses, and then enroll in the complete course, get all of these packages. Then you will also join our WhatsApp platform and our online platforms where I release a lot of materials to assist students to prepare for their exams very well. So for those of you who want to go the extra mile with me and want to get more out of what we are doing and also help you more on that intimate level, then you can enroll in a complete course like that. Then you can be able to get that one-on-one session with me and also join our community of rising business leaders to help you for the examination. Right, so let's continue with our discussion. So now that we are finished, with the cost sheet, remember I told you something here about what? The overheads. The overheads are going to be absorbed. So how do you absorb the overheads? I also explained this sometime earlier when we were looking at the overview of the syllabus. But I'm going to be doing that as well here to help you to understand how that fits into what? The cost card. So when it comes to overhead absorption, there are 6 bases of absorbing of what? Overheads. There are 6 bases for absorbing of overheads. So let's look at it. Generally, we say that the overhead absorption rate is equal to the total budgeted overheads divided by the total budgeted activity. So the total budgeted overheads divided by the total budgeted activity. Now this is the general formula. It is from the general formula that the 6 bases of absorption of overheads is derived. So we can absorb overheads according to material cost, labor cost, prime cost, labor hours, machine hours, and then production units. So these are the 6 bases that overheads can be absorbed: direct material cost, direct labor cost, prime cost, labor hours, machine hours, and then what? Production units. 6. So let's look at how these fit into an organization's cost sheet and how the companies can absorb what? The overheads. Because remember, like I said, the overheads will always be absorbed. And when we get into activity-based costing and absorption costing, that is where the knowledge here is going to be very critical for us. And because that is what we want to do, I need to build the foundation well for us. So when we are moving, you know how we are moving into it. So first, let's calculate the overhead absorption rate according to the direct material cost. Overhead absorption rate based on the direct material cost. So that is going to be your total budgeted overheads. So total budgeted overheads divided by the total, or let me just go straight, divided by the budgeted direct material cost times 100. Total budgeted overheads divided by the total budgeted direct material cost times what? 100. Now, when we punch that, we are going to get our answer in percentages. So the answer is going to be X% of direct material cost. This is where you have to understand the concept very well. Our final answer is going to be X% of direct material cost. Now, what do we mean by that? If we are going to be absorbing the overheads, we absorb the overheads by first calculating the overhead absorption rate. The way we compute the overhead absorption rate, look at the formula I gave you. Total budgeted overheads divided by the total budgeted what? Activity. Meaning that the examiner is going to give us what? The budgeted, standard cost card of the company or the budgeted information. So from the budget information, we will now be able to calculate what? The overhead absorption rate. So if we compute the overhead absorption rate, look at the answer we are getting according to direct material cost. That is going to be what? X%. Now the X% here is value. So X here represents the value or the figure, the amount that we are getting. So 20%, okay? 50%, okay? So if it is 10% of direct material, what does that mean then? It means that when we are preparing our cost card, we bring direct material, direct labor, direct expenses, get a prime cost. When we get to the factory overhead, the figure we bring under the factory overhead will be whatever percentage we had here by the direct material, the actual direct material. So you express the overhead absorption rate on what? The actual results that you have, and that will give you what? The direct material. So let's just say that from wherever we computed and our answer was 20% of direct material cost. So if it is 20% of direct material cost, and let's say my direct material cost is 10, labor is 2, expenses is 5. So that is going to give me a total of what? 17. So if I'm adding factory overhead, from my overhead absorption rate, I am getting what? 20% of the direct material. So what is the direct material? 10. So 20% of 10 is going to be what? 2. So that becomes the factory overhead. When I add it to it, I get 19, and that becomes what? The factory cost. So that is how we apply the overhead absorption rate into the preparation of our what? Cost sheet or our profit statement. Very, very important. That is the first way we absorb our overheads. Let's look at the second way we can absorb overheads. So overhead absorption rates based on direct labor cost. It's the same idea. This time around, we are not going to be using material cost, but we are going to be using what? Labor cost. So based on direct labor cost, how is it going to be? Now remember, the numerator is always going to be the same. That is not going to be changing. So we're going to have the total budgeted overheads, okay, divided by, this time around, what? The total budgeted direct labor cost. Now, anytime it is a cost, we express it in percentages. So times what? 100. So this time around, we are absorbing the overheads using what? The direct labor hours. So if we are absorbing the overheads using the direct labor hours, how do we go about it then? It means our final answer is going to be X percent of what? The direct labor cost. X percent of direct labor cost. And the concept there applies to the same thing that we do what? Did here. So let's say you did your calculation and you got 50%, okay? Let's say you did your calculation here for the overhead absorption rate and you got 50% of direct labor cost. How does that reflect on our cost sheet? Simple. Direct material is going to be the same. Direct labor is going to be the same. Your prime cost is still going to be 17. But now your overheads, since you got 50%, it is based on what? Direct labor cost. So what is our direct labor cost? 2. So 50% of 2 is going to be 1. So in that case, my production cost is now going to be what? 18. So that is how you absorb the overheads using what? The direct labor cost. So let me say this again. The budgeted information is going to be given to us. Once the budgeted information is given to us, you have to look for what? The actual information, which is what you're going to be representing in the cost sheet. However, you use the budgeted information to compute what? The overhead absorption rate. Then whatever answer you have of the overhead absorption rate, you express that on its activity to be able to calculate what? The overheads that you are going to be calculating here. If you are just joining the broadcast, we are looking at cost and profit statements, and we are looking at how we have we look at cost classification a little bit, and then I came to the cost sheet and we are looking at the overhead absorption rate. If you have any questions or you have any topic you want me to cover, put it in the chat box right now, or you can put it in the comment box if you are watching the playback of this broadcast, and I will answer all of these questions for you. Maybe there's a topic you want me to cover, there's an area you want me to cover. Don't give me subjects, because if you give me subjects, that's too broad. You want me to cover a topic, an accounting standard you want me to cover. Just put it in the chat box, put it in the comment box. I'm going to read that and I'm going to cover that in one of the sessions so that I can assist you to prepare well for the examination. Remember, if you have not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel, and also share the video with your colleagues on your WhatsApp platforms, your WhatsApp groups, your Facebook groups, and your Facebook pages. You can share it so that together we can reach as much people as possible, so we can assist a lot of people who are preparing for the ICAG May 2020 examination and beyond in relation to that. So that is the second way we absorb what? The overheads. Let's move on to the third way we absorb overheads. So the third way we absorb the overheads is going to be overhead absorption rate, my outside scope. Let me make sure that I'm within the view. Okay. I think this is better. Then let me unpin this. Let me unpin this comment so that the screen will be there for us straight to go. So overhead absorption rate. So we've done direct material, we've done direct labor. So the next thing we do is what? Prime cost. So let's go to prime cost, PC. So if we are calculating the overhead absorption rate according to prime cost, what do? The same thing, total budgeted overheads. Remember I told you the numerator will not change, but the denominator will be what is be changing. So budgeted what? Prime cost times 100. So direct material cost, it has a cost, so times 100. Direct labor cost has a cost times 100. Prime cost has a cost also times 100. So what answer are we going to get? We are going to get X% of what? The actual prime cost. X% of the actual prime cost. Now, in this case, how do we represent that in our books or in our books, in our accounting? So let's say we calculated and we got 10% of the prime cost, okay? 10% of the prime cost. So if we got 10%, how do we go about it? Simple. It means that this time around, as our prime cost is 17, I'm using the same illustration here. As our prime cost is 17, if we did our overhead absorption rate and we had 10%, then the 10% of the actual prime cost is what? 1.7. So that will be 1.7. So that is going to be 18.7. So that becomes our factory cost or our production cost. So that is how we deal with the overhead absorption rate using what? The prime cost. Then we come to the next one. Overhead absorption. Okay, we are absorbing the overheads using labor hours. So the examiner is going to give us the budgeted labor hours, or there will be budgeted labor hour per unit, and then we're going to have the budgeted unit, and then we will use the budgeted labor hour per unit to multiply by the budgeted unit, so that we will now get what? The total labor hours that we need. So usually the labor hours will not be directly stated in the question, but we'll be giving the budgeted unit, then we'll be giving the budgeted labor hour per unit. Then we use that to multiply the total unit, and then that will help us to calculate what? The overhead absorption rate. Remember, if there are 3 or 4 products or more than one product, you will calculate the total labor hours for each of the products, then you add the totals up, and that will give you what? The total labor hours that you are going to be using to compute your overhead absorption rate. So let's go. Numerator remains the same. So total budgeted overheads divided by the budgeted what? Labor hours. Budgeted labor hours. Now here you are dealing with hours, so there is nothing like times 100 here. Okay, there is nothing like times 100 here. So what do? It means you are going to get your answer in a currency form. Okay, the past ones we were getting the answers in percentages, but when we leave that, we are now going to be getting our answers in a currency form. So what does that mean? It means that we will get X dollars per direct labor hour. Okay, X dollars per direct labor hour. Remember, the overhead absorption rate will always be expressed on what? The actual labor hours. So if we did our calculation and we had $2 per labor hour, as we are preparing the cost sheet, after the prime cost and we come to the overheads, we ask ourselves, how many hours did we do actually? Did we pay for actually? That labor hours, we use it to multiply what? The labor hour rate per labor hour. The overhead absorption rate per labor hour, and then that was going to give us what? The factory overheads, and we add that to our prime cost, and then we get the factory cost. I hope you're getting the difference. So that is how we deal with the overhead absorption rate.
This is the Millionaire Booklet, How to Get Super Rich. My name is Grant Cardone. I'm the author. I wrote this book for you to get super rich, to become a millionaire.
Then the next thing we look at is the overhead absorption rate using machine hours. Overhead absorption rate using what? Machine hours. Now, like the name suggests, we are using machine hours. So the numerator remains the same. So total budgeted overheads divided by the budgeted what? Machine hours. Again, when it comes to the calculation of the total machine hours, it may not be clearly stated in the question. Okay? It may not be clearly stated in the question. So since it is not clearly stated in the question, what do? The examiner will give you the budgeted machine hour per unit, and then he will give you what? The budgeted units. So what do? You multiply the budgeted units with the machine hour per unit to get what? The total machine hours. Again, if we are dealing with three different products here, then you will calculate the machine hour for them, total machine hour for them separately. When you finish, you add them up, and that is what will be the denominator here. It's very, very important because students mess it up and they will add the total units and they will add the machine hour per unit, then they will use that to multiply. No, you do for them individually and then you add their totals up. So what will be our answer? The same thing here. It's going to be X dollars per machine hour. X dollars per machine hour. So this time around, it means that we are absorbing overheads based on what? Machine hours. So after, when we are preparing our cost sheet, when we get to add factory overheads, we are going to go to our information and ask ourselves, what was the actual machine hours that we spent? So the actual machine hours that we spent, we are now going to be using that to what? Absorb the overheads that we have. Then the last one is going to be the overhead absorption rate for the overhead absorption rate based on production units. Overhead absorption rate based on production units. So like the name suggests, this time around we are calculating overhead absorption rate, but we are using what? Production units. So this is going to be the total budgeted overheads divided by budgeted production units. The total overheads divided by the budgeted production unit. Now, note also that in this case, when we are dealing with the production units, if it is 2 or more products, then you add all the budgeted units. So maybe product A is 50, product 2B is 30, product 3 is 20. We add the 3 up, and that is 100,000 units, or 100 units, or 100 units, and that is going to be what? The total budgeted units that we're going to be getting. So this time around, our rate is going to be X dollars per production units. I get it, X dollars per production unit. It means that we are now absorbing the overheads based on what? The production unit. So again, when we are preparing our cost sheet or our profit statement, it simply means that we are now going to be what? When we get to the factory overheads, we are going to be bringing what? The money we got here, the overhead absorption rate we got here, and multiply that by the actual units in relation to that. So these are the 6 bases of absorption of overheads: direct material, direct labor, prime cost, labor hours, machine hours, and then also the last thing is the production unit. Now the big question we ask ourselves is, when can we use what? Okay, when can organization use what? When will it be suitable for an organization to use, say, prime cost or to use, say, material cost? Now, that question also depends on, answering that question also depends on other factors. So, let's say for instance, the company is capital intensive, meaning that the company uses machines a lot, and we can measure the hours that the machines are working, then the company would be absorbing the overhead using what? The machine hours. The company will be absorbing the overheads using the machine hours. Or if we are in a company where outputs can easily be measured, so the output for each product can easily be measured, then the company may absorb overheads using what? The production units. However, if we are in a company where outputs cannot be measured, like especially in a service organization, but the labor hours can be measured, then the company will be using what? The labor hours. The labor hours. So we are not using more machines, but we are using more labor hours, and we can record the time that people start work, the time that people finish, or how many hours people use on a, or spend on a job. Then we can use what? The labor hours. Either of these can be used for the material cost, labor cost, and what? Prime cost, because one, we can always calculate the material cost of a product. We can always calculate what? The labor cost, which is how much we are paying our labor force or the employees. Then the prime cost, once you have your direct material, you have your direct labor, coming across the prime cost is actually going to be what? Very easy in relation to that. So what are we saying so far? What are we saying so far? In the preparation of the cost sheets and by extension the profit statements, you must understand how the overheads are going to be what? Absorbed. Because this is going to play a key role when we start with absorption costing, marginal costing, and then the issue about what? Activity-based costing. But these things work best in absorption costing because that is where we are going to be absorbing the overheads. Only that when we get to activity-based costing, there will be different ways that we are going to be calculating the overhead absorption rates because we'll be using the cost drivers and then the cost pool to compute the overhead absorption rates so that we will use that to determine how overheads will be absorbed and allocated. Right, so any questions? If you have any questions, put them in the chat box. There are any topics you want me to cover, you can also put that in the chat box or the comment box, and I'm going to be covering that as well to assist you to prepare well for your examination. Now, for those of you, I've said this already, but for those of you who have not subscribed to my channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel and share the video as well with your friends, with your colleagues as much as possible so we can reach a lot of people. Now, if you also look, you are someone who is looking for the complete course, like we have the courses available online. So irrespective of where you are located, you can and study online with us. All you do is to visit our website, NhyiraPremiumUniversity.com/courses, NhyiraPremiumUniversity.com/courses, and you can enroll in a course today. You study from anywhere you are, everywhere you are. But this is the cool aspect for enrolling with us online. You get access to the lecture videos, you get access to the course ebook, that is my books on the subject, you get access to question kits for all the questions that we'll be practicing and questions that you will be solving as well on your own. Then you get a one-on-one session with me via Skype once a week for me to answer any questions that you are having. Sometimes it may not be me because we have other facilitators who facilitate those one-on-one sessions as well. But whatever it is, you're going to be having a dedicated, it could be me or it could be another one of our mentorship team members, and they are going to be with you and answer any questions that you're having for what you have studied for the week. So if you are somebody who is looking for that, you find out that, hey, I can enroll in the course online. And remember, for all our online courses, I am the moderator, I lecture all of them, and you get access to the lecture videos, and you can study from anywhere, anytime. Please do not go to the exam hall without attending any lecture. We don't go to the exam hall without spending time with the books. Now, for those of you who have written the exam before and something happened, you didn't go through, or maybe you did not write the exams, and you are saying that, oh, Nhyira, I know the thing already, I need to do some small revision, or that is all. I will recommend that you attend lectures. So if you have any teaching center or partner in learning close to you, you can check the links from the ICAG website. You can check the links from there, and you can find out one that is closer to you that you think that they are doing well, and you can attend the lecture there, but just be part of a community, be part of a group of people, so together you hold each other's hand, and then you can continue. Because in the classroom now, if you have studied some of these things before, you realize that if you watch this lesson again or you listen to this lesson again, the thing becomes much clearer to you, and that is how you pass the exam. That is how you position yourself to understand the concept. So that is what I would say. Either look for a tuition center and attend, or if you have a tight schedule, you cannot attend the lectures, and you want to study online also, you can study online under my mentorship, Nhyira Premium University.com, or better still, you can call our office line 050-114-9296, 050-114-9296, and I'll be glad to speak with you and guide you and give you the tips so you can prepare well for your examination. Right, so back to the cost and profit statement. Now, so we've dealt with the first aspect, the cost statement. So this is how we prepare the cost statement. Simple, sweet, straight to the point. Now the second aspect is the profit statement. The second aspect is the profit statement. Now the way the management accountant prepares the profit statement will be based on the method that the management accountant is using. So what does that mean then? The management accountant can decide to use either the absorption costing method to prepare the profit statement, or to use the activity-based costing method to prepare the profit statement, or to use the activity-based costing. Now, the reason why the activity-based costing came up was because of the fact that the absorption costing is limited. Because with absorption costing, more or less like you are adopting what is called blanket overhead absorption rate. In other words, you calculate one overhead absorption rate using either labor hours or machine hours, and you apply it to all products or services. But they may not be using the same machine hours, they may not be using the same labor hours. So an equivalent way or a better way to really absorb the overheads among production cost centers or cost units is to use what is called the activity-based costing. So under the activity-based costing, this is where we absorb the overheads by identifying the cost pool and then what? The cost drivers, and that is what is going to be we're going to be using to absorb the overheads. And we're going to be going through that tomorrow, God willing, because we are already out of time for today's discussion. So we've looked at the first aspect, which is the cost. All right, the first aspect, which is the cost, and then tomorrow, God willing, we'll look at what? The profit statement, and we'll look at how we prepare the profit statement using the marginal costing, how we prepare profit statement using the absorption costing, and how we prepare the profit statement using activity-based costing. And then if we have time, we'll be doing it also, we'll be practicing some questions. So if tomorrow we are not able to on this concept, on this cost and profit, then on Monday we will conclude as well, because it is something that is central, something that is fundamental for you to be able to pass. Comment below with the things that you want me to cover, the topics that you want me to cover, and I'll be very glad to cover all of that for you. Again, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, you share the channel with others, so together we can help all other people. So thank you very much for joining the broadcast today. Very much excited that you take the time always to join me to watch this lesson and to help us to grow here at the Nhyira Premium organization. So today we dealt with the cost and profit statement, but we looked at only the cost aspect, and God willing, tomorrow we're going to be looking at the profit statement. So make sure you join me same time tomorrow, 4 p.m. Tomorrow is going to be Friday, so same time tomorrow, 4 p.m. And let's look at the profit aspect of it using absorption costing, marginal costing, and activity-based costing. I know that during these encounters, I will be able to hold your hand, assist you, and help you so you can prepare well for your examination. Thank you very much for joining the broadcast today, and I will see you same time tomorrow as we continue with our discussion and our journey towards the ICAG May 2020 examination and beyond. So see you and take care of yourself.